Welcome. I'm your host, Paula, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Hello, and welcome back to Transformative Harmonics. I'm Paula, and outside today with the snow falling around me, and it's dropping into 19 degrees here in North Carolina. So hoping this comes through clearly. Welcome back. So I'll give you a moment, depending on where you are, to just slow down a little bit. Notice where you're at and make sure that you've created a little space for what I'm about to share. As you know, I like to talk about this idea of creating space before we bring something new in. And this is also part of what we're doing in our collective awakening, is we're clearing the trauma from the body so we can bring in more light and more of who we are. But that can't happen if there is dense energy that we're holding and tension in the body. So it's that same perspective with sound. We've got to empty things out. So give yourself a moment, take a few breaths, notice where you are. If you've got a cup of tea or something warm to drink, coffee, sit down. This will be a short solo episode, but I thought I would talk a little about a membership portal that I've started. And this comes on the heels of our last broadcast with Sarah, who's part of our teaching faculty. And so I'll be talking a little bit about the whole program. But I'd like to start by beginning to think about the mission of Transformative Harmonics as I've gained clarity on that. We are here to support the awakening and the expansion of consciousness, to help heal humanity's inner wounds we all hold. It's a shared experience, and to shift your relationship with a sound and music and your understanding of its role at this time. And so you'll see on my Instagram and some of my fields, the ways that I move through the world, I share a lot about what the music community is doing right now, because it's so exciting and beautiful to watch. And this is outside the therapeutic milieu, right? This is just in our culture, what musicians are doing right now. It's absolutely positively brilliant if you haven't been following it. So with today, I thought that I would start talking about some of the reasons why people might come to our community. And I've had a couple people give me some feedback lately. And it's always nicer to hear from people who've gone through the experience to help you to, whether it's my community or someone else's, understand some of the processes that can happen when we engage in transformative change. So some of the things that have been shared lately is this idea of coming back to our inner authority and our sovereignty. And what that means is starting to find the answers from inside rather than going to the outside and giving away our power when we feel uncertain or when we don't know the next step. And so that's an inside job. And so many of the platforms and communities right now are here to help us turn inwards. And our community just happens to use sound as the portal for turning inwards. But there's many ways to do this. In that process, as we're turning inward, we start to bump into these patterns of constriction in the physiology, but also emotionally. And so some of the feedback that I've gotten is about a releasing of these old patterns or ways of operating in our relationship or how we treat ourselves that are no longer serving us and that are preventing us from stepping forward into our true authority and purpose at this time. So again, we can release those through breath work, movement, psychedelic assisted processes, therapies such as brain spotting, somatic experiencing, EMDR, but also through sound. Sound is a beautiful pathway that helps us drop into deep parasympathetic states and begin to unwind the nervous system and our psychology so we can start to move through some of those places where we've become stuck because of unprocessed material. The other thing that people are starting to share is that we want to start to embody our own inner authority and our inner voice. So that part of you, I call it your embodied wisdom, that part of you that speaks to your unique perspective about the world and about how you want to step forward with your creativity, your gifts, whatever's bubbling up in you that feels valuable at this time. And so much and so many of us, we've contracted, right? Who we are and what we have to offer to fit into boxes. And these boxes were not made for us, really. We're meant to break the boxes open, right? And to really bring our unique creativity forward. But often people that are empaths or sensitive tend to have a challenge with stepping forward with their authority. So in this process of transformational change, we learn to break those boxes open and step forward with courage, with creativity, with a sense of excitement and a real fire behind us. Often, if we do not step into our inner authority, we act in ways that are inauthentic. So the inside and the outside don't match. So very much this program is about getting your inside and your outside to match. So you feel congruent and your life reflects that. So obviously, there may be changes that happen as a result of coming into one of these programs. And that's the big question. Are you ready for change? And are you willing to say yes to stepping into the truth of who you are? And that question's not up for me to answer. It's really a question for you. The last thing I would say is there is a beautiful rebalancing that happens with this type of program where you begin to feel like you're living from a place of harmony within yourself, right? Your physiology, your emotions, but also a greater connection to our universal web. So you start to know yourself from this different perspective that is held in much of the indigenous wisdom and our understanding of our role as stewards of the earth, of sentient forces, right? And also who we are in our greater cosmic role, right? So we begin to understand ourselves from both above and below and what that means. And this means stepping into the esoteric or spirituality in whatever way that means for you. Some people, it is about nature and the natural world. For others, it's about tuning in to the unseen. And then in my role, what I support is a deeper embodiment of some of the pathways that allow us to access the subconscious or the unseen that have been shut down. And that may be your intuition. That may be your access to dreams. That may be your ability as an empath to really tune into the space and to understand how energetically you're absorbing from the outside and how that influences you if you're not paying attention to your energetics. Ultimately, this supports you in being a better spaceholder, leader, and change agent. So those are the types of people that are coming to the program, those that want to step forward in a way that they can then be of service to others. And that's the big question. How am I going to be of service right now? Right? What's my role? Whether that's your role in the family, your community, or the larger collective. So all of this to say, I've been running groups and leading people through immersions for many years, since the 90s. This current version of me is a shift out of being a therapist into one of a sound healer, a visionary, and a guide, bringing together the leaders, the people that have their communities or want to have communities where they're serving the larger collective at this time. So with that, my role is to help you rethink your relationship with yourself, with sound, and to be a part of a mobilized community that's global, that's working towards change in the world. And so one of the programs that I'm mostly known for is the Immersion program, which you've heard about up to this point. And it is a deep dive. It's 10 months and it's a commitment because it's weekly. You're going back into the body over and over and over again through sound, and you are retuning yourself. And this does create a transformational change by the end. You will not be the same person. But I decided that our community also needed something easier to access. So I've started a membership portal. This is something you can join in a 1-month drop-in, a 2-month drop-in, or a 4-week drop-in, depending on where you are in your path to awakening. So if you're someone who's just getting involved in awakening and you like to come once a month and have access to some of the psychoacoustic technology that I offer called Rest and Restore, I have a pathway for you now where you can implement that program on your own or with our group. You can engage in my Substack community, and you can meet some of the people that are fellow travelers on the path to expansion in consciousness. If you'd like a little more, you can come in at a 2 times per month membership. Same processes, but it's just a little bit more often. So it's really going to provide a stronger container for you. And then those who are deeply immersed, maybe you've been on a path of embodied awakening for some time through us or through another program, and you're at an impasse, but you don't want the closed group 10-month experience, but you would like to enter into something weekly. I have a process now where you can come weekly with my alumni and you can spend time in that type of container where we travel together with sound, where I might provide teachings, where you meet and share resources and meet others who are healers and change agents. So you start to expand your community and understand that there are many people right now who are involved in this process of change, and you are one of them, and you have fellow travelers, and they would love to meet you. So this is a weekly option. So each of these is available now. The portal will open in February for you, and it's definitely an easier access point if you're not quite sure about that other format. This is an open group process, so it's a little different, but it will still hold and contain and carry you. The model I use is very much a talking stick model. So I'm not here as a teacher who's going to give you the answers. I'm cultivating your capacity to turn inward and find those answers inside of yourself, because that is really where your embodied wisdom is located. And so this practice of understanding that while knowledge is great, and I will tell you, I always have 5 or 6 books, around that I might pick up once in a while. It's not where I go for the answers anymore. And that's why I like to offer that to you. Where can you go where you can find your authentic voice and not have to bypass that and give that power away to others? Ultimately, I'd also love to support those who feel passionate and who are committed to cultivating the relationship with music and sound in a way that helps them to understand the true potential of sound as a sentient force and a vehicle for change and spiritual activism. However you might want to hold it. Sound and music are powerful ways that we can express our voice. We can connect through cultures. It's a universal language, and we can come together both in celebration and in healing through the potency of sound and music. So I hope that this has given you an idea of some of the ways that we can come together in a shared community and find space to do our inner work together and to move our individual selves, our community, and the larger collective into something new in the year ahead. So I'll leave you with that. Please set up a discovery call if you have questions and you're curious about anything that I've said today. And I'll see you again on Transformative Harmonics.